With free agency, the big part of it really over. Now the Lions can really focus their attention in the NFL draft. In this video, I'm going to go over 5 team needs, positional needs the Lions need to go ahead and address in this NFL draft for the players and what type of round you would get those players. So there's 5 positional groups, and we're going to go over it, who the Lions should get. But before we get into today's video, if you are not a subscriber, go ahead and hit that subscribe button right now. It does help the channel out to grow. Same with hitting that like button. Let's go ahead and get this thing going. The first position here would be number 5 of the Lions need to upgrade, I do believe, is the running back position. Why do I say this? Because right now you got your number 1 is DeAndre Swift. We do think he's going to be here next year, but after next year, after this upcoming season, I don't think he's going to be back. So that gives the Lions losing on a running back there. We just signed David Montgomery to a multi-year deal. He is going to be on this team for some time, so I don't got to worry about that. But Craig Reynolds, he barely played last year. He's on his last year of the deal. And Jamar Jefferson, who has not really played at all much since he's been a Detroit Lion. So with the 4 players that we currently have, Montgomery is really the only one that's for the long-term deal. But if you look at the prospects in the NFL draft, there are plenty of players the Lions could go ahead and upgrade this position to be the future of the running back position with David Montgomery. You got Bijan Robinson. You can get him in round 1. He's a dynamic running back, no doubt about it, but you're going to have to put significant draft stock into him. You may have to go ahead and get him at 18 or have to trade up a little bit to like a 14 to get a Bijan Robinson. Jahmyr Gibbs, I think, is a logical player for the Detroit Lions. He is that prototypical DeAndre Swift fast speed back. He can do it out of the backfield, and I think he would be a good complement to David Montgomery, who is a power back. Zach Charbonnet as well, that could be something the Lions look at, but he is more of the power back, so I don't know legitimately if he would be something being on the Lions' radar. A lot of players here the Lions could look at. You go all the way down to the 4th and 5th and 6th round. A ton of running backs in this bad boy. Just absolutely ton. You get Tank Bigsby. You can get Kendra Miller, Tulane, Sean Tucker. Just a ton of running backs for the Lions to be better at that position. And they can't get it done here. But let me know, what's your thoughts on the running back position? I do think it's a top 5 need. Well, a more of a want/need, right? We've dealt with a lot of players in free agency that got rid of big-time needs. So this is kind of like want/need. But I do think that running back is a position the Lions should look at to get better. But tell me your thoughts on that. I think for the number 4 position here I got is the cornerback position. Now you say, man, Mike, why do you even do that? We got a ton of cornerbacks on the depth chart. You're right. We do. But Cameron Sutton and Chase Lucas are, and Melifanu, who's safety / cornerback, what do you want to put them on there, is the only one's under contract next year. So if the Lions need to look about the future, it'd be the cornerback position. Again, this is like a want/need. So our depth's great now, but next year it's not. Ton of cornerbacks in this year's draft. And don't really go on the rankings here. This is just split quick rankings. Everyone's a little bit different. Christian Gonzalez could be someone else's number 1 instead of Devon Witherspoon. But you know the guys in the big round 1 players. Deonte Banks, Joey Porter Jr., Christian Gonzalez, Devon Witherspoon. This draft is filled with corners beyond belief. And I think legitimately for the Lions, it starts probably at pick 18 into the 2nd round. I mean, look at this. I got 10 corners on this bad boy in the first 2 rounds. So there's a ton of talent there. Emmanuel Forbes, skinny, can get it done. Eli Ricks, really good. Cam Smith, he could be even higher up to on 4. It's just depending what type of part you want to place a player at. It's just really good for the corner position, and I think the Lions should get a corner in this draft for the future of this draft. Another position I think is really big for the Detroit Lions here, and I think it's now becoming a need, and that is the guard position. Now, Halapoulivaati Vaitai and Graham Glasgow, you could switch that if you want to. I just put the names down in there. But if you look at the backups, first off, do you think Halapoulivaati Vaitai could stay healthy? Question mark. Graham Glasgow, he's not the long-term solution for the Lions. Logan Stenberg, he may not even make the team. Kayode Usika, really? So I think guard is actually a position of need. This is not more of want. This is more of a need because, look, if you lose Big V or Jonah Jackson both to injuries, we're really in a world of hurt. And I think the Lions should legitimately get a guard between 18 and round 2. And there's a ton of guards the Lions could look at. You know how much I love Osiris Torrance out of Florida. I think the Lions could take him at 18. That would be a good pick. I know a lot of people say don't take a guard that early, but that's an option there. But there's a ton of round 2 options here. John Michael Schmitz, I love him as well. He could play center. He can play guard. A very good player who's universal. Fits what Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes likes, right? They like those universal players. Same with Steve Avila, guard. He can play all parts of this offensive line, and the Lions have talked to him quite a bit, so he would be a second-round prospect. Keep an eye on him. I think that the Lions could look at him. I do like Luke Heipler and Tippmann, but Andrew Voorhees as well. The Lions have talked to him. He is somebody that should be on your radar. Jarrett Patterson in round 3/5 or 4. We don't have a 4th-round pick, but he could be someone there from Notre Dame. I love what he brings. A lot of quality guards for the Detroit Lions to look in this NFL draft. Just a ton. And the Lions need help all on this offensive line, but specifically guard, I think, is more of a problem for Detroit. So it'll be really interesting to see who they take. I do believe they take a guard. I 100% do believe it. So my final mock draft, you're going to see guard probably in round 2, I'm thinking. In round 2, round 3, that's where you're going to have it. Someone that can be the future of this football team. Let's go into my number 2 rank need. I absolutely think this is a need. This is not a want to me. This is a need, and that is the linebacker position. I know we got a lot of linebackers on the roster right now, but we got Alex Anzalone, 3-year deal. I have no problem with him coming back. I guess it's more of the long term, like 3 years. I would have liked him back maybe for a 1-year deal, but if you look at the contract, you could get rid of him after 1 year. Malcolm Rodriguez, I like what he did last year as a situational linebacker, but I would like to upgrade from that position. I think there's a lot of players in this draft, and you're going to see that you can do that. Derek Barnes, he's up and down. He really is. Jalen Reeves, maybe the special teams player. Anthony Pittman, special teams player. So you're looking at basically the 3 same linebackers we brought back from last year. And I think it was a position of weakness. And there's some players the Lions can look at, and they have, in this NFL draft. They've talked to Trenton Simpson quite a bit. I love Trenton Simpson. His speed, universal. He can play. He can rush the passer. He can stand pat. He can guard the tight end. Hell, he could probably do safety too as well. And he's a universal player. I think Aaron Glenn would love to use this Swiss Army knife for the Detroit Lions. Jack Campbell, absolutely love Jack Campbell. He's been flying up draft boards. He may be a round 1 pick now. If you're seeing here Trenton Simpson and Jack Campbell, they're round 1 selections here. I think he's the prototypical linebacker. I think Dan Campbell would love this guy. Absolutely would love this guy. No doubt about it. I think he would be a perfect fit for Detroit. Daiyan Henley would be a nice round 2 selection for the Lions. Him and Drew Sanders really could be the guys you look at, say, okay, we need a round 2 LB. Those are the guys right there. Drew Sanders and Henley, really good studs. I think you'd automatically upgrade the linebacker position. Noah Sewell, I have him falling into the 3rd round now at this point. The Lions have talked to him, obviously the connections with Panay, but I do have him fall the 3rd round. So the Lions do have a 3rd round pick. They can look at him. You know how much I love DeMarvin Overshown. And he is now he was probably more of a 4th round pick, but he's moving up my boards, and I think he showed that in the NFL Combine. He is no longer a guy that's off the radar. I've been talking about him for a year. I think he's a Lions could look at for sure. And Owen Popo, I do still like him. Out of Auburn, a 5th round draft pick. that could be a developmental player for the Detroit Lions at the LB position. But let's go to the number one position of need, and I think everybody knows what this is right now. And that is absolutely the defensive tackle position. No doubt about it. It is a need, not a want. Ali McNeil, stud. I love what he's doing. Absolutely do. Isaiah Buggs is a rotational defensive tackle. Levi Nwuzurike, you can't depend on him. Benito Jones, yeah. Demetrius Taylor, yeah. So we have problems there at the depth chart for defensive tackle, and they can fix it in this year's draft. Jalen Carter could fall the Lions at 6. Questions about his off the field and the way that he interacts, obviously, with the car wreck, as well as how he did on his pro day. Okay, I don't think the Lions take him. That's my personal preference, but they could. Kalijah Cansey, my number 2 guy. I think he'd be great at pick 18 for the Detroit Lions. I think he'd be perfect opposite of Ali McNeil. He's that lighter weight defensive tackle, right? He can go after the quarterback. Brian Brzee, he's fallen to now number 3 for me. You can still get him. He's the bigger guy, 6'5", 305. You could potentially take him at 18, or I've seen mock drafts now him falling in the second round. Saika Ika Baylor, he's that big old body. He's the fat guy that helps stop the run. I don't know if that's something the Lions could look at more. You got Mozzie Smith as well. He's another player you can get in the second/third rounds. Keanu Benton, too, is a guy I think the Lions could look at as well for the defensive tackle position. So it's a lot of positions there that the Lions could help out. Obviously, the ones I didn't talk about, wide receiver, because we don't know what's going on right now with the replacement of DJ Chark, and backup quarterback position, but I didn't really want to throw them in this video. I want to more stick to the positions that I talked about. But let me know in the comment section right now, what is your top 5 positional needs? Who would you get in the NFL draft to solidify those needs? With that said, folks, adios.